Hello, welcome to another episode of Now We're Talking. I'm Scott.
I'm Julie.
And thanks for joining us again. We hope you're enjoying listening to our little show as much as we're enjoying making it. We're available on all podcast outlets now, Apple, Spotify, Pocket Casts, etc., so you can reach us everywhere.
Yay.
Today we're going to spend some time, we want to talk about Matthew Perry, his life, and the recent charges that were filed against the people that gave him or sold him the ketamine that was the cause of his death. We also have our Am I the Asshole of the Day? And I want to spend a little more time talking about Hamilton, which we brought up last week. And Julie wants to revisit her AMA from a couple of weeks ago with her favorite thing for this week.
I swear one of these days we're going to let that whole AMA thing go.
Right? We're going to stop going back to all these old episodes and
no more do-overs.
Bringing it up again. But it was funny, I went back and listened to the episode from last week, and you had asked me what was my favorite musical and why.
Right.
And I answered Hamilton, but I don't think I really went into the why of it. And I just wanted to spend just a couple minutes, talking about that.
Okay.
So first off, it's historical. It doesn't always cling to the actual truth, right? Like the Schuyler sisters, they actually had brothers.
Oh, okay.
There are some things in there that aren't really quite historically accurate, but you let it go for the art of it, right? But as I studied history in high school, AP history class, history minor in college. The American Revolution, that whole time period the colonial era is one that I was always interested in. And so I think it, for that reason, it holds a little bit special. And I did actually, I think after I started listening, and maybe after we watched the musical that was on Disney,
okay.
I went back and listened to the Ron Chernow book that Miranda had read that led him to write this,
okay.
And just found it really fascinating. So that was probably one of the big reasons that I liked it. And then I really like the music. There's all different styles of
right.
music. There's stuff that's in 4/4 time, like in the waltz. There's rap. There's there's all kinds of different styles of music in there, which I think really, brings a lot to the show.
Sure.
And also the people that are in the show are just incredibly talented. The original cast with Daveed Diggs and Leslie Odom Jr. and Philippa Sue and Renee Elise Goldsberry. I just think that they're unbelievably talented. And one of the things that I was reading was that Daveed Diggs, he plays both Lafayette in the first act, and then he plays Thomas Jefferson in the second act.
Right.
In the first act, when he's Lafayette in the song "Guns and Ships," he raps or sings. He sings over 6 words per second, which is just unbelievably fast. And there's this whole thing about it's the fastest song ever on Broadway, and there's one thing that said that because of the speed of which he sings and some of the other characters sing, the book, what they call the book, right? Has 20,000 words in it.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Phantom of the Opera
Yeah.
has 6,000 words.
Oh wow.
And it's just it's just so condensed into 2.5 hours. So it's really just unbelievable. And there's a lot of YouTube videos and articles you can read about some of the subtleties that are in the show and the production, right? And you and I have talked about this before.
Right.
Just like how the whole rotating stage and how the set changes and the bullet, right? The one actor that's the bullet, and she shows up when people are about to die, and then at the end, in the duel between Hamilton and Burr, she goes across the stage, and just she's always there when people are going to die.
It's brilliant.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then of course stuff like King George in your favorite parts.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I just love King George.
I think everybody does, right? Brian Groff, who did it originally, is just unbelievable. And he's just foaming at the mouth and
he's very spitty.
But he references going mad in the song "If You Leave, I'll Go Mad," and of course he does. King George actually went mad. And throughout the whole show, through the songs, like Manuel references other rappers, other musicals, right? Like George Washington says, "I'm the model of a modern major general," and that's from like HMS Pinafore, I believe, right? Maybe I think I have that right. And then of course Shakespeare, like there's a whole thing between he and Angelica where he references Shakespeare, he references Hamlet or Macbeth, so it just, I don't know. I mean, I just love that. And then of course the last thing for me is that like songs like Yorktown, which is where the colonists defeat the British, and then One Last Time, which is the song where Washington is giving up his power. They bring me to tears. I mean, the song for different reasons, right? I mean, like as an American, winning the Revolutionary War, like this ragtag bunch of farmers, and just like take out the most powerful army on the planet at that time. I mean, of course, we had help. We did have help from the French, but they also had help from the Germans, from the Hessians. So I mean, like as an American, like that, like there's a certain amount of pride in that. And then of course, like I said, One Last Time, Washington giving up his power and walking away, and I mean, that's led us to the presidency that we have now.
Right.
I mean, like they wanted, like other people wanted Washington to be a monarch. Like they even called him Your Excellency. Like they wanted to, like people wanted to set up a monarchy here in the new United States.
Yeah.
And so, but he didn't. And then of course, like the song like Farmer Refuted, where Hamilton argues with the guy who is against the revolution, and talks about how he's got the same mange as his dog and stuff, and I just think they're funny. And so and then of course like you talk about like the King George songs, it brings a smile to your face. I mean,
there's a whole range of emotions in that show, and I cried a number of times. I mean, you just can't help, but I've never seen, probably will never see as many Broadway shows as you have. So of the ones that I've seen, though, that really did touch me, I think, more than any of the others that I've seen, it becomes personal.
Yeah. And then like the song Burn, when Philippa Sue is burning the letters that Hamilton, after she finds out that he's been cheating on her and stuff. And, I mean, I just think that...
it's hard not to get emotionally involved.
Yeah,
all that.
Yeah,
for sure.
So anyway, that was it. I think I just wanted to talk a few minutes about what that means to me and why I liked it so much.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you did the follow up, and I'd like to piggyback on that if I could for a second, because like Scott mentioned before, we're kind of going back to the Ask Me Anything questions from episode 2, I guess it was, and one of the questions posed to me was favorite movies, and I didn't really have any favorite movies. Well, I mean, I had 2, but I couldn't come up with a third, and I still can't come up with a third, but I've decided to substitute that question with shows, and there are actually 2 different, I guess you call them miniseries, that really have been, I think, in times of need, you kind of reach out and grab the things that you feel like you need in your life. And for me, one of them was Schitt's Creek, and it just brought the funny, to my life, the comedy, the writing, the commentating,
spit it out.
The comments back and forth to each other, just the banter back and forth just is so fun for me. And just really is one of the shows that I've watched at least 4 times. And I'll never, ever hear Tina Turner's Simply the Best again without thinking about Patrick singing to David. And it was just, it's an epic scene.
I will never think about folding in the cheese with...
Yeah. How do you fold the cheese? If you ask me that one more time. So my second show that I wanted to talk about is also my favorite thing of the week, and that is The West Wing. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, I really highly recommend it. The writing is brilliant. The characters are exceptional. The actors who bring them to life are just fantastic. And, the show tackles really hard topics, and amazingly, some of them we're still trying to wrestle with today. And if you haven't watched it, I think you should do it. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It makes me think. And it gives you a sense of pride. Some scenes really just bring me to tears because I am, in those moments, so proud to be an American. And it really drives home for me how important it is for good, decent, honest, trustworthy, caring people to be in positions of power in this country. This series started in September of 1999, and I just started watching it again this week, so I'm still in season 1. And it's still, all those topics are still just as relevant today as they were 25 years ago, which is sad, but also is a really giant reminder of why it's important to vote. And when Scott and I started this podcast, I'll just throw in here real quick, we really made a conscious decision not to make it about politics, though that would make it really easy for us because we really do talk and consume a lot of politics in this house. And so I guess by my favorite thing, you probably figured out at this point what side of the aisle we lean to. But I don't think you have to be liberal or conservative to really like The West Wing. There are certainly good conservative characters in that show who make valid points.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And you can get behind them and you see the point, and this is one of the reasons I think it's really super important for us to really hear people no matter what side of the aisle they're talking from, because people do come with good arguments, and I think we have to do a better job of listening and finding some middle ground. Where there is some, sometimes there's not, but where there is a place of middle ground, I think we owe it to ourselves to try to find it. So that's my favorite thing of the week is West Wing.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I think I've watched that series a few times myself, and, I think sometimes Aaron Sorkin can be a little heavy-handed, but I do, and I think that in some ways it's sort of an idealized version, of our government, and especially the West Wing, the presidential part of it, of our government, but I kind of I agree with you. Like I think the actors are great. I think that the characters, Martin Sheen is
excellent.
Just excellent. He's just outstanding. And Bradley Whitford and
right.
and Allison Janney. Yeah. And there's just so many people. And then there are people that guest stars. Yeah. When we talk about later on we talk about Matthew Perry. He does an arc on the show, like 6 episodes.
Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah, Elizabeth Moss is the daughter. There's a lot of and it is well done, and it's fun to watch. Like the banter, the walk and talks.
Right.
There's
a lot of walking and talking.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So yeah, I agree.
I guess there probably were podcasts back in the day that talked about nothing but the West Wing, which I should probably go back and listen to, because there's probably elements of that show that not even I are picking up after having watched it 2 or 3 times now. But
yeah, there used to be a podcast with I think it was called The West Wing, with Joshua Malina was one of the hosts, and he of course is in the later seasons. Yeah. I enjoyed that. I used to listen to that podcast. It was good.
All right. Wow.
Cool. Great.
I'll go back.
The West Wing. All right. So today we actually have two. I'm going to surprise Julie with one of these. Am I the asshole? One's a really short one, and I'll start with that one. So this goes: I, male, 56, and my wife, female, have had 12 dogs between us. We have just one now. I recently, sort of publicly, asked my wife why she won't let us have another one. While I was kidding, and she knew I was kidding, it came across wrong, and others have said that it was kind of an asshole question to ask. But if we've talked about it before, and I knew that we're not going to get another one in the foreseeable future, and was just trying to get a laugh and talk about it, am I the asshole?
So this is surprising for sure. We did talk about this. No, I don't think you're the asshole. But then I know you, and I think that's why it was important for us to address this again. I wasn't sure you were on board with it, and I certainly didn't expect this to come up today. But we have talked about it a number of times, and I think we're both on the same page when it comes to we both have to be on board with it before we have another pet in this house. And I'm not saying we never ever will.
I know.
But I'm just saying, not for me right yet. We haven't even had the 1 year anniversary of losing the sweet baby that I lost in October. So we just need to come to the same page.
I just wanted to apologize and to let everybody know that we have talked about it before,
right?
And it's not it wasn't a complete blindside, but it did probably come across wrong, and so I just wanted to.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Sure. Okay. So for our real one, this one is kind of interesting. But this is, am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend I'm not getting his name tattooed on me? So the writer says, I get matching tattoos, but each other's names, I really can't do it. Tattoo is permanent unless you want to pay more money to get it removed. So to me, it's permanent. Me and my boyfriend have been together for a year or so, and he asked me if we should get each other's names tattooed on each other, and I immediately said, yeah, no thank you. He was like, why? What's wrong with getting each other's names? I'm sorry, but no, she says. I told him how I refuse to put anyone's name on me if it isn't me or my twin sister, and only my twin sister, because she's the only person who's been in my life all along, or my kid's name. He said stuff like, this could actually show our love towards one another, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, so I won't go into it. Blah, blah, blah. She goes on, and my boyfriend took it as I think that he and I will break up soon, and I don't love him like he loves me. I just don't want something to be stuck on me when that person I thought I'd love forever turns out to be the one I no longer love.
Yeah. Listen, I would... I'm struggling with my words here, so I don't want to offend you. I don't want your name on my body. That doesn't mean I love you less. I think if you can incorporate initials or something into a design, I think that's one thing, because that, if you're already going to have a tattoo and you have a way to put my initials in there or something, I think that's cool. Because it isn't going to be something that stands out, after I'm gone, either by death or because we don't work out or whatever, So I don't think she's the asshole. I don't really think he's an asshole either, though. I think he must feel like he needs some way to sort of mark her as his. Ooh. Which seems weird to me.
But he's willing to mark him as hers.
I know, but that's, if he wants to do that, that's his choice. But
that's a good point.
It's not her choice.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. Like, I wouldn't, I'm not getting your name on me.
I'm so mad. I'm just kidding.
Must be. Yeah. I agree with her. I agree with you. There's just no way I would do that. And I think it's different if you're honoring somebody.
Yeah, we talked about that before too.
But
even that I think it can be weird though. I mean, again, I lean in more to initials in a design that means something without having an actual name. Yeah, because you know, I'm struggling here because there are things I feel like I want to say, and I guess I'm going to go ahead and say them, because we sometimes, you know, when I'm decorating the Christmas tree, we have ornaments from past marriages. I bring some with me. You brought some from yours. And it always sort of strikes me a little bit odd to put those on the tree sometimes. And yet it shouldn't, because I think if something were to happen to me, I'd like to feel like you're going to still hang my name on your tree from now on, you know? And so the first 2 or 3 Christmases, it was kind of hard for me. I'll be honest with you about that. But I'm okay with that now. I feel honored now to hang Laura's ornaments on our tree. And when I hang ornaments that come from a previous marriage of mine, I do that with just a remembrance of times past.
Sure.
Doesn't mean I love you less. And so, but I think in terms of putting something on your body where it's there 24/7, I don't know, that might be harder for me to sort of get my arms around.
Right. And I mean, like, I've got, you know, my dad's signature on my arm, and someday I'll get the windmill that you know, because for those of you who don't know, my father was, his favorite literary character was Don Quixote, and the Man of La Mancha was one of his favorite musicals, and so I always said that I'm going to get a windmill on my arm. You know, as Don Quixote's always tilting at windmills, and
we need to be. How come we haven't already done that?
I don't know. Every once in a while, I'll go online and look for a sketch of what I want.
We just need to do it.
Yeah, I need to. So anyway, so I think we're in agreement. It's just funny as I'm reading through some of these quotes or the comments on Reddit. Somebody wrote, "I knew a guy who had his girlfriend's name tattooed on his heart. A few years later, he ended up marrying her cousin."
Oh, man. See, that's why.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
That's why you don't want to do it.
I do not want to go there, though. All right. Okay, so I think we're in agreement.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so next we wanted to just give a quick update. Back in episode 1, I think we did.
Yeah, I think so.
We talked about our fun with AT&T.
Yeah, switching our cell plans over from T-Mobile to AT&T.
Yeah, and the short of it is that we did it one day at BJ's Wholesale. We were originally told that as part of switching over, for each line we changed over, we would get a $250 AT&T reward card. And as we were in the process of doing it, the other sales dude came up and said they've just changed it. It's now $300.
Right.
And then, of course, as we've gone through it all, we've gotten things. Everything has said $250. And Julie has. Speaking of tilting at windmills,
right?
You know, this is going up against the giant that is AT&T.
Right. And that really is it. And long story short, I've thrown in the towel. I don't feel like this is a battle that I'm willing to expend any more energy on. Sunday, not today is Sunday, but a week ago Sunday, we decided to go back to BJ's and give it one last chance. And we went mid-afternoon. It was 2-ish or so,
it was like 1 o'clock.
And the sales guys were both at lunch, apparently. So one of the clerks at BJ said, "Oh, they'll be back in about 45 minutes." So we literally walked around BJ's.
We got our steps in.
Plus, and they never came back. And I said, "That's it for me. I'm done. I'm not wasting any more of my time on this." So we have submitted our request for $250 gift cards, and now we wait, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we can check online. We can follow. I'm sure they'll get here. I mean, it's just, you know, on one hand, you're like, hey, it's still $750, and that's great. If they just kept their mouths shut, we would never have had to go this,
Yeah.
you know.
And the truth is, it is supposed to be $900.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be $900. That's what we were told. That was what was on the screen behind him. That was what was on the documentation, that got sent to AT&T, which we don't have a copy of, by the way.
Allegedly got sent to AT&T.
Right. And so it's wrong. It's wrong every way you look at it. But I guess that's what they count on, people to just give up. So.
Yeah, I mean, they did say, right, that they only ran this promotion for a couple of weeks.
Right.
And so I think that, I just think that wires got crossed. And if I be as generous, give it as generous a reading as I can, I just think wires got crossed and there was an issue and they're doing whatever they can to, hold to just that 250.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, when the lady on the
mistakes
phone...
were made.
Yeah, told me, lady, I don't know how else to say this to you. Nobody's changing that for you.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you fight that? I mean,
I know.
Other than hiring an attorney to go after him.
Right. It costs you a lot more than $150.
Yeah, I'm never going to get beyond the manager of that department.
Right.
So I'm done.
So we're done. Moving on. Okay. And then the next thing I want to talk about is Matthew Perry. There was a article that just came out this past week that some of the people that were responsible for selling him the ketamine that ended up being the overdose that took his life are being brought up on charges. We'll get to that in a minute, but I think there's a couple of reasons I wanted to talk about him in particular. His, for me as a 50-something-year-old person, Friends came out when I would have been in that age group.
Oh, right.
It came out in 1994. I was 26 years old. I didn't count my fingers and toes. I was 26 years old. And, those were the people that I would have identified with.
Right.
It showed up, it premiered between Mad About You and Seinfeld. And so, back in those days for you youngins, there was a time when not everything was streaming and you didn't have a DVR,
right.
And unless you had to pop the tape in to record it on VHS,
right.
You had to watch shows when they came out. Otherwise, you had to wait until the summer when they showed up in reruns.
Right.
Reruns to you youngins. But yeah, so it was Mad About You, and then Friends, and Seinfeld. So it was like appointment television, right? Where were you on Thursday night? I was at home watching Friends, and Seinfeld,
right?
And so it was a really big deal, and it was a cultural touchstone.
Yeah.
People got the Rachel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got the Rachel.
Oh, I got the Rachel.
Did you really?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Everybody, all the girls wanted to be the Rachel.
Yeah, you got the Rachel
haircut.
How many people said, "How you doing?"
Yeah.
And who would, and how many people emphasized wrong word, odd words like Chandler did,
right.
Could we be anymore?
Right. Right.
Last year I listened to his memoir, and it came out literally a year before he died. It came out November 1st of 2022, and he died October 29th or whatever it was in 23. And in it, he really talks about dying, and there's a lot in there because he dealt with alcoholism,
right.
drug abuse. He had his first drink at the age of 14. His father was kind of, his family life was really kind of interesting too. His parents got together. His father was actually a folk singer, and his mother was a beauty queen. And his folk band was playing at this winter festival in Ottawa. He's Canadian. His mother's Canadian.
Right.
And there was a snowstorm, and his father's band group got stuck there, and so he and Matthew Perry's mother ended up talking all through the night, and 2 years later they're married. She's pregnant with Matthew. they ended up getting divorced. He moved. The father moved to Los Angeles and became the Old Spice spokesman.
Oh, okay.
Back in the for you youngins, but there was the Old Spice dude in the pea coat and the hat and stuff, and with the white bottle. That was his father. His father also was in. He was actually in an episode of Friends, and he was also in the movie. What was it called? With Salma Hayek. Fools Rush In.
Oh, okay.
With Matthew Perry was in that, and he got his father a role in that as well. And his mother, like I said, she was a beauty queen. Then she was like a spokesperson for the Canadian Prime Minister at the time, which was Pierre Trudeau. Okay. And of course, his son is now the Prime Minister.
Right. And
Matthew Perry in his memoir says that he got in a fight and beat up Pierre's son once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when they were kids. But his mother, but of course, like I said, his parents got divorced. His mother left the government and became a news anchor, and then later married Keith Morrison.
Oh, okay.
Isn't he like the To Catch a Predator guy?
He was like 2020 or...
like To Catch a Predator or
yeah, he's
one of those,
yeah.
Set people up to get caught.
Yeah, he has a great voice.
Yeah. And Matthew Perry has nothing but good things to say about Morrison. But one of the things too that I want to going back to Friends real quick was I thought this really interesting was that they were an ensemble cast. Courtney Cox was really the only really well known person. Like everybody else had done stuff, but like Matthew Perry had been in a couple of shows. Like he'd been in I forget the name of the show. One of those like teeny bopper, not teeny bopper, but like Melrose Place type shows. Not Melrose Place. What was the other one? Beverly Hills 90210. He was in an episode of that. He's been in. Been in a couple other shows. But like Courtney Cox was really the only person that was well known. Right? She had been in
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, right. Famously Dancing in the Dark with Bruce Springsteen.
Right.
And then of course she was in Ace Ventura.
Oh.
Also, and so, but like Perry says that like she could have been a diva.
Yeah.
And and like said like I want like
the biggest dressing room.
Yeah, to be apart from everybody else, but she didn't. Like she knew that for these 6 people to be friends, they had to be friends.
Yeah.
And David Schwimmer, who after like the first or second season, like had become a star, when they went to renegotiate the contract, Schwimmer went to Perry and said, "I think we should all get paid the same. Like there's none of us above the other. Right. We're all going to take the same salary." Like I said, he could have gone and negotiated for himself, but he's like, we're
this together.
We're a team together, they all, as Perry went through problems, like he talks about like at one point he was like his weight would vacillate between like 224 and 124 pounds.
Wow.
And he said when he looked really thin, he was on drugs. When he looked fatter, it was the alcohol. Mm. And you could just tell by how he looked what he was on at the time.
Huh.
Like I said, he started drinking when he was 14. His dad was actually a functional alcoholic. He said his dad would drink like 7 vodka tonics at night, and then get up the next day,
be just fine,
and go like make if he had to go to like a rehearsal or casting call or something, or go to the bank or whatever, he was up and able to do his work, and and Perry himself was not that way. He was a non-functional alcoholic, you would say. And then, like I said, he also did drugs. At one point, he was taking up to 55 Vicodins a day.
I don't even know how you walk around with that in your body.
It's just unbelievable. And then he was talking about, like, like there was, I forget what drug it was, that maybe it was Dilaudid or something. Like, he went to Switzerland and try to get clean and stuff. I can't remember the exact story. I probably should have marked it more when I was listening to his book. But he came back and was in Los Angeles and went to the doctor there, and he said I was told I'd be able to get 1,500 milligrams of this to take per day. and they said, we give cancer patients 5 milligrams.
Oh my gosh.
And he was taking 1,500. So, and of course, he spent his life in and out of rehab. He got pancreatitis, which came from drinking too much. He literally talks about his colon exploding, and had a colostomy bag. He was in a coma. He went to thousands of AA meetings. I mean, he just led like, and he like, I really encourage people to listen or read the book, because it's really like, it's no holds barred, man. He talks about how bad he was. He talks about some of the crappy things he did. He talks about the way he treated others. Like, he's really, really honest about it. And like it's, I mean, and he's funny too. And that was always his thing, was like, he always felt like he had to be funny. Always has to be funny. Like, he was kind of Chandler. He dealt with stuff by being funny, trying to be funny, and but he does tell some really good stories. Like, he talks about when he was dating Julia Roberts. I mean, like, and like, it's really kind of cute. Like, their quote unquote meet cute was, she offered to do an episode of Friends. I forget how it came about, but she said she would do the episode of Friends, but only if she could be part of his storyline. And then they so like, one of the people at the show was like, you should send her some flowers. So he sent her some flowers, and then they this was back in the day before cell phones. Yes, youngins, there was a time before cell phones when they actually sent faxes back and forth to each other.
Oh, wow.
And then at one point she said, I think she called him and said, I'm going to be at your apartment Saturday at 2:00. Right? And so they'd never talked, never seen each other, just these faxes. And, and he said, like got towards the end, like, these faxes were getting sort of romantic. Like, they started off just sort of joking and talking, and then they sort of became a little more than that. And so 2:00, she knocks on his door, and he opens up and he goes, "Oh, you're that Julia Roberts." And so they did have a relationship for a while, and he broke up with her. And he really comes across that he broke up with her because he was afraid that she would break up with him.
Oh.
And but he of course has nothing but good things to say about her, nothing but good things to say about a lot of the people that he wronged, and he wronged a lot of people. But it's really tragic.
It is tragic. And you just go back to the ketamine alone. It is a drug that has valuable uses in the world.
Right.
And there are times and places where it is absolutely appropriate. And again, this is why we can have nice things.
Right.
There are always some assholes out there who decide to try to make money instead of take their oath to do no harm seriously. Right.
That's exactly right. And one of the things that really got me, there's a story I read on the NPR website about it. And, of course, two of these people are doctors, right? I mean, they're doctors.
Right.
And let's see if I can find... Oh, yeah, in a text message obtained by authorities, Placencia and Chavez discussed how much to charge the actor for the drug, with Placencia stating, I wonder how much this moron will pay.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. I mean, that's it.
And then let's find out.
And it just kills me, man. I mean, and at the time that he overdosed, he had allegedly, been clean for like over a year, like 14 months. And, but I mean, again, like, I really urge people to listen to or read the book. It's just fascinating, and it's sad, and it's
sad.
This guy who had all the money in the world, man. At one point, they were making like $1.1 million per episode. Yeah, I mean, it's
a crazy amount of money.
It's $28 million a year.
Yeah.
So all the money, and then of course from movies like Fools Rush In and The Whole Nine Yards, and and then of course the other tragic thing too was he was in a movie gosh, I should have looked it up. Saving Sarah, I think was the name of it. I can't remember. But he was in a movie with Chris Farley. And Chris Farley died, of course, from a drug overdose,
Right.
like 2 weeks before that movie
Released.
came out. Yeah. And so, like, Perry had to go and, you know, go on, like, shows and stuff and talk about the movie, you know, after Farley's death. So, I mean, it's just sad, and I hope they throw the book at these people.
I do too.
Because they're just the worst in
Yeah.
our world, man.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, and we can learn anything from this. I mean, besides the, you know, the doctors, wink, wink, who need to be held responsible, is we all just need to be better friends. And we, you know, if you see a friend or you have an acquaintance with somebody that you think they're struggling or they have issues, you know, they have issues, man, try to be there for them. Try to not be judgmental, because it's not, he would never wish this. He would never have wished to be the person he was, you know, a drug abuser, alcohol abuser, you know, paying that kind of money for ketamine or what, Vicodin or everything else that he might have been taking. Nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants to be that.
Right.
So he had problems, and he needed good physicians and good friends. And he found apparently neither one of them, and that's so tragic.
Yeah, I think, you know, again in the book, I mean, he talks about people that were there for him, you know, and he's had people to be at his side, like really like honest, caring people, and of course some of them he pushed away.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think you're right about some of the doctors and some of the professional help that he needed. And I mean, he, you know, like I said, he went to rehab, you know, probably a dozen times, including like when he was on Friends. You know, I mean, when that show was still running, I mean, he spent time in rehab. There were times that they wrote around him being in rehab, or they, you know, because the shows are obviously recorded ahead of time, right? They don't record them Thursday morning and they come out Thursday night. So they could write around his scenes and stuff, and when he wasn't able to be there, just the amount of like he would talk about drinking, like, you know, those big 1.75 liter bottles with the handles. He would go through one of those in like 2 days. So I mean, it's sad. I think that you know, like you're rewatching The West Wing, I'm probably going to actually rewatch Friends, because it's a funny show. It's really well done. It's you know, and I want to think about him
in a different light
on there, and some of the, maybe I'll find some of the movies to watch or something, and just sort of celebrate him and you know, who he was, and the you know, some of the good performances that he put in.
Right.
You know, he did one other thing. He did say that I think it was like the 9th season, which may have been the last season, or maybe the second to last season, he was clean that whole season, and it was also a season like he got nominated for an Emmy.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so you know, but sometimes you just can't help it, and I hope that if you know, I mean, I think we have people in our family that could probably use help.
Yeah.
Both sides of the family, and or could have used help in some cases.
Sure.
And you know, I just hope that you know, for anybody else, if you need help or you know someone who needs help, that you know, do it whatever you can to make sure that happens. And I don't want to end the show on a downer, but
I know. Well, so we don't. We end it, you know, thinking wonderful, great moments of Matthew Perry's life.
Yeah. And like I said, I'll probably start watching Friends, and you know, just enjoy it, and yeah. All right.
I guess we're done then.
All right. Cool.
So that brings us to the close of another edition of Now We're Talking.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, as I say, please subscribe or follow so you don't miss it. Give us a rating and review on any of the apps that allow this so we know how we're doing. Thanks again for listening to Now We're Talking. We'll be back next week with another episode.
No one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke you broke, your love life's the old way. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. When it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too.
Oh, next step is to fold in the cheese.
What does that mean? What does fold in the cheese mean?
He folds it in.
I understand that, but how do you fold it? Do you fold it in half like a piece of paper and drop it in the pot, or what do you do?
David, I cannot show you everything.
Okay, well, can you show me one thing?
Here's what you do. You just fold it in.
Okay, I don't know how to fold broken cheese like that.
And I don't know how to be any clearer. You take that thing that's in your hand,
Uh-huh.
and you...
If you say fold in one more time.
It says fold it in!
This is your recipe. You fold in the cheese then.
Don't you dare.
You fold it in.
David! Oh, good. Now I see bubbles. David! What does burning smell like?